but there were still factions that had come in into this group of churches in Galatia and had tried to convince them, no, they really need to do this. And so Paul, again, he is reporting that you don't need to do this. And then he goes into some lengthy commentary about why that's not necessary and his desire for those who think that people should do that. He says they really ought to get fully committed to the cause. Anyway, he said, no, instead you haven't been given a spirit of slavery, you've been given a spirit of freedom. And the spirit of freedom from sin comes through God, through the gift of his Son, Jesus Christ. And that the Holy Spirit and people who live by the Spirit are no longer slaves to sin. And to be careful, to watch what they're doing. Again, this is a church in which there was a lot of conflict. They're trying to puzzle everything out and figure out how to be the church and what to do. And he says, listen, if you're being led by the flesh, if you're being led by your own sinful nature, the results are obvious. What he calls the fruits. That's, this is an agricultural community, so the fruit or the harvest or what gets produced that is referred to as the fruits. And the fruits are the harvest of living according to your sinful nature is that whole list of a bunch of things that he has out there. Immorality, debauchery, quarrels, factions, cliques, we would call them now, or cliques. And so he goes to great lengths to emphasize that, no, these things are obvious if you're living by the flesh. But there are certain things that if they become apparent in your life, if they become apparent in your spirit, then these are gifts of the Spirit. And he lists them all out. Again, I've got my list here. But he talks about love, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and one I really wonder if this wasn't some later addition, self-control. Self-control, all these things, being able to approach life in this way. Now, for some of us, this may sound a little bit like hippy-dippy, lollipops and unicorn stuff, right? You guys are tough. And it's hard to see. But no, really, joy. We should be joyful in our spiritual walk. We should have fun. An unhappy Christian is a contradiction in terms. And having patience, I struggle with that. I struggle with having patience. I bought a Rubik's Cube. I'm not sure. I think this may be my Rubik's Cube. Thank you, honey. I appreciate you bringing my Rubik's Cube up here. I have never been able to successfully finish a Rubik's Cube. I know that there's some tricks to it, like the little center dot, that's the color that needs to be on that side. And so these are okay, but then the corner, well, that one's okay. Yeah, because it matches up here. See, I lose my patience with these things, right? I had an old one of the original ones, and I got so mad with that thing, and everything was so twisted around, I just took all the little labels off and put it back the right way and stuck it on the shelf and left it there for the last 40 years. Peace, patience. When you're not feeling peaceful inside, when there's something in there, that faithfulness, generosity, gentleness, these are the things that come from the Spirit. And I'll tell you, when we begin to live by the Spirit, life is no longer the puzzle it once was, either. And we watch the joy and the fruitfulness just pop right at us. And we go after the gifts of the Spirit. Is that enough, or do I need to do more? Hey, we got to I need more problems. Uh, no, can you imagine people trying to get along, running into all these kinds of problems? He goes, you're no longer, let's say it right. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. It's for freedom. The freedom that we have, we share this in our baptismal covenant, one that we make with each other, one that our kids make, or we make on our children's behalf for children's baptism, or it's reaffirmed at the confirmation. We did this last week. We had, 5 people that joined the church last week at our 11 o'clock service. One of the things that we do is to say that we agree to accept the freedom that Christ has given us to oppose injustice and evil in any place that we find it. The church is lacking. The church is lacking. All churches, for the most part, in that understanding that the freedom that we have is also the freedom to say, that's not right. I wouldn't let my family go through that. And because I love my neighbor as myself, I can't let my neighbor's family go through that. On a serious note on the end of things. We're called to action. We're called to act. Not out of a sense of patriotic duty, although that's always a good thing, and we celebrate our great country this weekend. But to celebrate the great freedom and to go forward in the freedom that we have through Jesus Christ, who sent his Son and silly preachers to share the message of the gospel, that we are loved and we are to love. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One of the things that allows us to do this is the incredible, immeasurable grace of God. Our closing hymn is number 65, hymn number 365, Grace Greater Than Our Sin. We're going to rock this just a little bit. Would you play this the way it's supposed to be played? It may not be the way that's in here. We discovered that last week with one.